Hi, this video is about a planning tool used in project management. All projects will generally be affected by three main factors: cost, quality and time. Each of these factors is affected by changes in one or more of the others. For example, if the client requires changes to a product but still needs the original deadline to be met, there is potential for the quality to drop or cost to increase in the project. By developing a sound timeframe for events and identifying how they interact on the overall timeline, an engineer can identify which tasks are critical, what order the tasks need to be completed in, which tasks rely on the output from other tasks, where there is spare time in the project, and which parts in the project are critical to achieving the completion on time. One type of timeline used by engineers is called a Gantt chart. It's a system whereby each of the tasks is laid out on a timeline to provide a picture of how the overall project will run. This involves listing the tasks in a row of a table and their timeframes in the columns. There are four main steps to developing a Gantt chart. List all of the events or activities required to complete the project. This means everything from securing funding to final production. Each of these activities takes on a different amount of time, and this is where our next step comes in. Estimate the time that will be required for each activity. Don't underestimate here, as you will get caught out. You will need to engage with the experts in each of the disciplines you're employing to see how much time is required. The next step is to look at the sequence in which the activities need to be completed, as this determines when they need to be placed on the timeline. It also shows if activities can be run alone or in parallel. Once these three steps are complete, we can look at the overall timeline and sequence of activities and identify the total time for a project and any critical paths. A critical path is a sequence of events which must be completed on time in order for the project to meet the final deadline. This will generally identify a number of activities which rely on the completion of others before they can start. There may be more than one critical path to a project. There is also the opportunity to look closer at the Gantt chart timeline and identify areas where we might be able to help a project from falling behind time. This is done by identifying those activities which are short and run in parallel to the critical path. If one of the critical path activities starts to experience a delay, we could consider taking some resources from a non-critical activity and reallocating them to the critical path to get it back on track. This is called crashing a project. Now let's look at a quick example of using a Gantt chart to see the project timeline for a fitness wearable, in this case a fitness bracelet to sense your pulse. We consider that the activities that need to be completed are software design, application design, power supply design, sensor design and physical item design. These are listed in the rows on the left of the table, and along the top is the number of weeks required for each activity. We then consider the sequence of development and which activities rely on each other. In our case, we assess that application, power and sensor design can all start together and have no dependency on each other. Software design cannot begin until the sensor design is complete, and bracelet design cannot begin until all others are complete. So we see our critical path as being sensor, software and bracelet design. During the conduct of our project, we find that the sensor design is taking longer than expected, so we can crash our project by reallocating resources from application design to software design, and this continues to meet the deadline. So now you should have a good understanding on the importance of planning and a useful tool, the Gantt chart. There are many Gantt chart software packages online, or you can use a simple table format as we did in the worked example. The key points to take away are: list every activity that needs to be performed, estimate the time taken for each task, identify the dependencies between tasks to determine the sequence, identify a critical path, and then consider opportunities to crash the project if necessary. We hope this helps.